Oh, I see a lot of people coming in this morning. You guys are early or right on time. Thrilled to see it. If you are able to turn on your cameras, we would love to see you. If you're not, we totally get it. I know a lot of you are just tuning in because that's just what you can do, and we're glad you're here. Just a friendly reminder here, guys. I know that a couple weeks ago we kind of changed the way we do group calls. But we're going to start off with wins. No surprise there. We always start off with wins. So I want you guys to start thinking now what's going good in my business, whether it's small, large, let us celebrate it with you. I know that I've had a lot of clients having wins lately. So if you're my client and you're on this call, I will call you out if you have a win. So you might as well just be vocal about it. And then as we're thinking about those wins, I also want us thinking about what questions that we have. This is your most powerful coaching hour of the week. Why? You have all the coaches here. You've got a good amount of clients here. You can get advice from people who have been where you're at, who are currently going through what you're going through. And so I really want you guys to come into this meeting. What's on my mind? What's my biggest burning fire? What's a question I want help with? Whether it's from what software do you guys use? Has your insurance rates gone up? Have you guys found a better deal? To, hey, I have this weird employee or customer situation. I would love advice. Just be thinking, what questions do I have? But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into wins. What good is happening, guys? I'd love for people to just unmute and tell us what good things have been happening.
It's raining and I don't have to do shit today.
Well, Michael, that's a win for you. I'm sure there's a lot of other clients who are hating the wind. I know hating the rain. I know I've got some concrete guys that are pretty pissed about the rain.
Yeah.
But what other wins are we having here?
Oh, good. I'm glad you unmuted, Elias. I was about to call for you. Now you got some good things happening recently.
Yeah, I do have a couple wins. We just got a couple of big projects that rolled through and had to hire a new crew. So we hired an apprentice, and on Monday we're starting another journeyman to take over some work for us. So things are moving in the right direction, and business is growing, and we're hiring a team, and it's expanding. So got to be grateful for that, and yeah, that's a win for us. So.
Let's go. Elias,
Yes.
tell the people how long it took for you to get that first apprentice and this guy.
So I had Bryce as my coach, by the way. Shout out to Bryce. I texted him and I said, "Hey Bryce, just picked up with this big project. Got to hire a couple of more guys." And within the hour, Bryce had my listings up on Indeed, and I had an apprentice hired within like 2 days. And then the journeyman kind of fell through a little bit. I had somebody who we were hoping was going to start beginning of this week, but he texted me the night before, and then we were on to another journeyman who seemed hopeful again, and he was a no-call, no-show the day he was supposed to start. But we're on to our third journeyman now, and he seems hopeful as well. So we'll see. Everybody cross your fingers for us.
Yeah, but following the system, doing the shadow days, haven't had to spend any money on advertising on Indeed, and still got some decent applicants and guys we at least want to try out. So it's been a quick turnaround, which is awesome.
Yeah, and this apprentice, he seems pretty solid. He's been with us since Monday, and he has really hit the ground running. And he's a hard worker and stuff. You can't find that in the younger generation nowadays. So 21 years old, and he's busting his ass, and we're very happy with him.
Hey, I almost want you to say it again for the people in the back. There are young people who do work. I promise.
Yep. They're out there.
You heard it from Elias himself. And the thing that I love about his win is he had people lined up, but he continued to take applicants because you never know if somebody's going to no-call, no-show. You never know if you decide, I don't really like working with this guy. You want to keep that pipeline full, which is why Elias already has somebody else already lined up, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And the journeyman ad on Indeed is still rolling until I find somebody who's been with us for at least a week or so, something like that. So
love it.
we'll see.
Great.
Love it. What other wins are happening, guys? That's huge.
Oh, I almost doubled last month's goal.
Hey,
Let's go.
despite the rain,
Yeah,
Michael, you're
yeah.
still crushing it. I love it. What other wins we got going on? Scott, I saw you on mute.
Well, last week we were talking and asking questions about hiring. So to continue on that theme, looks like we've got we've got a guy hired, and we may be hiring another guy starting next week. We've landed a couple big commercial jobs in the last week. We've been working on them for the bids for a while, but one's about a $20,000 project. The other one's 65,000. So for us, that's a huge. Those are huge projects for us.
Yes.
So going pretty good, and looks like my partner is not on here, so that means he's completely covered up on the plumbing, so that's a win.
That's a win too, considering you guys just added plumbing a couple weeks ago. So we wish he was here, but we're also happy to hear that you are getting people lined up to be hired, and those big jobs. I feel like wins all around for you guys. So huge congratulations. Thank you, Aaron. Fernando, I saw you raise your hand. Do you want to unmute? Tell us something good.
Yeah, we had an install all week, all of the days. We thought that today we weren't going to have one, but one approved the quote and paid the deposit yesterday afternoon. So we got another HVAC install going in today. So
Woo woo, Fernando. Yeah. Yes.
Nice.
Love to hear it.
Something that I think is cool about that, typically what I've found in working with people that haven't done any sort of tracking before is what you kind of expressed, Fernando, which is, hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough work this week, but they start tracking how many leads come in and how many jobs they end up doing week to week to week. And then you can see this rhythm or kind of an expectation of, unless something dramatically changes, like you cut off an ad source that was actually producing good leads for you, you can get an expectation of what you can expect, and that uncertainty about how many jobs are going to come in or how many phone calls, how am I going to get more work, kind of reduces a good amount once you have consistent tracking that shows you how much is coming in regularly. But that's awesome.
yeah, it's been great. Another win too is we did our little meeting with the facelift or the ad team. We spent $700, and from those $700 we got $8,000 worth of work. So
Ooh, that is a huge return, Fernando. Yes, I love that you just shared that one, because I was getting ready to talk about 19th hole golf simulators. Yes, they do golf simulators, guys. So if you're wanting a golf simulator in your house, hit them up. But we just started Facebook with them. They got 57 Facebook leads in their first 2 weeks of running those ads. And they were real leads, not just bots, not marketers. And so one big win, because we're tracking the leads. We just talked about how important that is. And then two, you can find success in ads when it's done correctly. So Fernando, thank you so much for sharing that win. Anybody else?
I do kind of want to say something that's changing advertising wise.
Guys, this is Robert Redmond for those who have not met him.
Yes. Good to meet everybody. I think I know most of you, but something we've realized is in marketing, digital marketing, there's this idea called like intent advertising versus interrupt advertising, right? So like intent advertising would be like Google local services. Like someone is searching for your service because they really need it now, and you appear whenever they're searching for services related to your business, right? Or business that you do, right? So that's intent. Someone's intentionally trying to find you online. Then there's interrupt, which is primarily through what's called just paid social, Instagram, Facebook. TikTok is kind of becoming a thing. We've tested it a number of times, and it's still not ready for us to put a lot of clients on it. but it'll probably become a more of a thing in the future. All that to say is that, the interrupt marketing, how that works is like you're scrolling through something and like Facebook feed or Instagram feed, and then you see an ad, right? It interrupts what you're doing on that social media platform. So typically we've been believers in the intent advertising, and we still are as it relates to Google local services and your Google business listing. We're really, really, really big believers in those two things. We actually think those are the most important forms of marketing. However, something that we're beginning to discover and we're getting really good at is lead generation through Facebook for even service companies. It's like, I love the story. How much did you spend, Fernando? $600?
I think you said
700.
700.
700. So that's for $1 spent, that's $10 back to have a return, right? Like, as far as advertising goes, it doesn't really get better than that, it actually does. We do actually have clients where it does get better than that on the more remodeling and construction side, because you can get really big deals from it. But I even work with a company that Fernando knows, Upfront Plumbing, and they got similar results. They're getting these big HVAC install projects through Facebook. So all that to say is that I just kind of wanted to use that as a teaching moment, something that we're beginning to see shift, and something that, if you're needing more leads to tell your coach, we've got someone on our team now too that like runs our Facebook ads. That's going to work with you directly and runs our Facebook ads full time. And so I just kind of want to drop that in there. If that's something you're interested in, it's really working. If you're early to it and it's not yet working, I would also say just be patient. Facebook gets really, really smart the longer that you stay on it. It's amazing how much their algorithm has developed to where, I don't want to get too technical, but it's even getting better than uploading a lookalike audience, where you could upload a customer list of your customers, and Facebook, finds their profiles on Facebook and finds people similar like them. Their just natural algorithm is getting better than even doing that. So anyway, really love that win, Fernando, and Facebook is becoming an awesome spot for contractors and service companies across the board.
Yes. Any other wins before we jump into the Q&A portion of this call? These have been great wins, guys. We love to hear it. Other clients love to hear it. Your coaches love to hear it. So just unmute and share if you haven't gotten to you yet. Going once, going twice. Okay, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing those wins. Like I said, it means a lot to us, means a lot to everybody else. But let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A. What questions do we have? Maybe talking about ads kind of gave you some thoughts, some questions. What's going on in your business that maybe you're running to a certain issue or biggest limiting factor? The powerful hour of the week. Clayton, I see your hand go up. Love to see it, sir. What's going on?
So I was wanting to ask this last week. I'm still stuck on the whole. Our competitors down here where we live are closing jobs, and then at the end of the job, they're going to their customers with, $30,000 to $100,000 over budget, and going to the bank and getting these jobs paid through the bank by these customers, having to pay this after the fact. And I'm trying to figure out how as a person that runs a business, how are they doing it? What's the steps, or what are they doing to ensure that they get paid when they go over like that?
Clayton, can you say that one more time? What's happening? Because it sounds like what you're saying is people are just getting a loan, but I don't know if that's what you're saying.
Well, you've got two types of people that pay. One is you got cash customers. The other ones all are financed somehow. So I've heard a lot of talk. I've got one competitor individually down here that every job that he does, he goes over, $100,000 on his project. And, they continue working, and at the end of the job, they're getting these projects financed.
somehow, and nobody, I mean, they're still in business. If I was to go over, you know, $50,000, $100,000 in my financing, you know, somebody's fixing to throw a fit. And I'm trying to figure out how they're doing that and still staying in business.
I would guess that they have a line of credit. That's my guess is what's happening. I'm not sure the details of the situation, but if what you're saying is my competitors are going way over budget and the customer doesn't have to pay for it, and they're going to a bank and getting those expenses covered, what I imagine is
one of the customers that I know that I'm actually fixing to build them a house. They're contractor in Oklahoma City, built them a house. The day of closing, the bank called them and says, "Oh, by the way, bring an extra $100,000 to the closing because you're over 110,000."
The remodeler said that to the customer?
No, it was a new custom home builder, and the bank actually called them and told them to bring an extra $110,000 to the closing because they're $110,000 over budget.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that would depend upon what terms that the home builder worked out with the customer. So for example, if the home builder worked out like a cost plus type of arrangement where they say, hey, you know, the customer says, hey, I want this specific home built and I want it designed this way. And then, you know, let's say that the home builder starts building and the customer goes and they say, hey, I want these changes. I want to add this thing, you know, a change order type thing. I think that's what could be doing it. And I'm a big believer, honestly, in cost plus estimating, huge believer in it. And so that's like, again, that's the only thing that I could imagine is happening there is that the home builder is just agreeing to certain terms with the customer, which would allow them to do that, which would allow them to say, hey, you know, we spent more than our original estimate. It could be because the customer had changes. It could be because, you know, the estimate was just an estimate and the home builder said this isn't a locked in price, right? It could be because they agreed to a cost plus type of model where the customer just would say, hey, what additions do you want to make? What changes you want to make? And the home builder, and that's like in a contract, and the home builder says, hey, you'll just pay these costs plus these fees. Those are the only scenarios I can imagine where that's what's happening.
Well, every time that I've gone over budget, you know, we've been lucky enough to get our estimates close enough to where we're between 4% and 6% overage on most jobs. I tell everybody 10%, but we usually stay right around the 5% mark. And if I get up there close to that 10% mark, I start stressing out. And you know, it's just hard to believe. It's just hard to believe that these contractors that's been doing this, the contractor that I'm talking about has been doing this for 40 plus years, and they're still doing work and still doing the same repetitive motion, and still everybody you talk to that's built the house with them, they've gone, you know, 20-25% over budget, and they're still working. How do you do that?
And the customer still pays for it, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then it's just about the terms that they work out with the customer, which you could work out those same terms too.
Well, we do, but then the problem with it is how do you go with not having a disgruntled employee? I mean, a disgruntled customer, you know?
Because it's based upon the expectations that you set from the get-go. So if you're transparent with the customer and you tell them how it works, you know, and you tell them the details. I'm big on transparency before signing a contract with the customer. A lot of people think like, hey, estimates, we need to hide the details of them. We don't want customers knowing kind of what went into that. I actually used to think that was the way to go, and I don't believe that anymore. Just because I've gotten into this business myself with the remodeling company that me and my partner own in Seattle. We never have arguments on price with customers. And it's because and we always get, you know, our bills paid to make the margins that we want. And it's because from the very beginning, we very simply break down how we create our estimates, how the collections process works, how our cash flow cycle works. And if someone agrees to it, then there's nothing for them to dispute down the road. What can they be disgruntled about? If you've set the expectations and then you're following through with them.
We actually, since we started with you guys, we've been open, transparent, and that's one of the things that's closed most of our jobs.
Yeah, there you go.
He's also implementing a working agreement too, which I think has saved your tail a couple of times now, Clayton.
It has.
Yeah.
3 to be exact, but yeah, it has.
One of my questions to you, because I'm in a GC position here, and the only time I've ever went over and ended up eating something is when I've misquoted something. Other than that, it's on the customer. If it's on the customer, there's a change order, or else it doesn't happen.
That's
is my kind of
right.
mentality. So my question to you is, I guess, why are you even getting to that 5 or 10% overages? And I mean, I'm not the perfect businessman, so I'm not here to, poke or prod in any way. But I guess
you're near perfect though, Kevin.
Oh yeah. If I was near perfect, I wouldn't be signed on with you guys, right?
Yeah.
So,
We'll get you there.
I mean, I've misquoted. I mean, usually it's electrical or plumbing or something like that I've misquoted and I ended up eating it. But as a general rule, I guess, I that's my question.
So I can tell you this. One of the things is that when misquotes happen or things are missed, Nicole and I have worked on getting our contract where if there's something missed in the contract, the customer has to pay it anyways. If it's not on the contract, it's not part of the agreement. And that's one thing that we've had to work through a couple of times on a few things that were missed. But a lot of times when we go over, it's either a missed item that wasn't on the contract that somebody had added, or two, for example, I had one go over the other day. It was a $60,000 job, and we went over $8,000 on our electrical. We quoted it based on a square footage price, based on our contractor. He comes in, the homeowner actually had him do about, 80% more than what we had planned on doing. They did not disclose that to me. He sends me a bill. We're, I don't know, I think we were about $6,000 over budget on the electrical portion alone. Those things like that, you're not responsible for, but in the same aspects, we wound up as a GC trying to cover the problem. So that's
my advice in that situation is like anytime, because we've done a couple, $150,000 jobs, is we always walk through with the customer. We walk through with the contract, like the electrical contractor or plumber, right? So if the customer starts asking for those extra things, that's when that should come up.
When you're doing custom home builds, you don't have a lot of that option. The other thing is that if I send out every bid that I get to every one of my electrical contractors, every one of my plumbers, I would be sending them 3 to 5 bids a week for them to budget and bid. And what it winds up doing is it makes them get stuck just sitting there trying to bid jobs for my job only. And then we only close maybe one a month. And sometimes they take 2 or 3 months to develop to get a job. So you spend a lot of time sending stuff to your general contractors that it winds up eating a lot of their time. And then when you start losing jobs or you don't get those jobs, then your general contractor looks at you and goes, "Hey, I'm doing a lot of bidding for you, but I'm not doing a lot of work for you. I'm not working for you no more." I've had that happen several times.
And I know you're in a small area, Clayton, so your options are a little slim.
We are. We're our whole neighborhood or town here is 35,000 people. We don't have a lot of people to pick and choose from.
Yeah. Hey, Clayton, how you doing?
Yeah.
So good. I just kind of want to pop in on that. I feel you on that stuff. Like I bid probably 30 to 35 jobs a month, and you don't want to burden your team down. A lot of these guys are 1, 2 man, 3 guy, shops that they don't just have a constant estimator. So what I did is, instead of bringing them every single job that we've got and we're looking at, I've sat down with them and said, look, here's the majority of our bread and butter. This is what we're bidding. give me a base price based on square footage for your basic wire job, for a basic plumbing and roughing. And I can take those now, and as I'm bidding new homes and larger projects, I plug that square footage number in and have an idea of what they're going to be. Now, it requires me to do a copy and paste of what that's including and what it sort of excludes. But it's easy as click, copy, paste, same one on every template. And then once we get into the closing stages of it, we're going to go ahead and move forward with the project. Now these guys need to put their eyes on the job. That's when they get involved, see the plans, and we kind of refine that bid and have that conversation with the client before signing the final contract, right? In the estimating phase, you're right. You don't want to bog these guys down with, 30 jobs because they're never going to get the jobs you got going done. But that's worked with me. A lot of guys were a little bit reluctant, but when I explained to them the process, once we actually get the job, you will have an opportunity to bid that project, right? And we can be within that scope of work. So it's definitely helped. And then the site walk after frame inspection, or your frame walk, once it's all framed up and you do that, electrical, all that kind of stuff, we go through and lay out the house where everything's going to be, and then they walk it with the client. And if they want to add stuff, this is what's on our contract right now to do. You want to add plugs, courtesy outlets, low voltage, you want to add HDMI stuff, this is the time to do it, but it's all at an additional cost. And it doesn't delay our project. We keep going.
That's exactly what we do now. I mean, I with my plumbers, my subcontractor, electrical, AC guys, they all do it by square footage or dropouts, or under the concrete slab, whatever. And that's the way we do ours. Exactly the way we do ours now. It's just sometimes, like when you're doing a remodel job, you get unforeseen stuff that you don't see or we don't expect, and you wind up going a little bit over budget. But and I honestly don't know how these other general contractors are going so much over budget. I have no idea.
Right. Yeah. And I wouldn't worry too much about what other people are doing, Clayton. I feel like that's just let them figure that out. But I think you and I might need to revisit your change order policy and just make sure that the only time that we are, that you're ever absorbing a cost is if you effed up. If something on your end, your guys effed up, we're going to own that. The customer changing their mind, if it's an unforeseen issue, if it's a subcontractor changing their amount, then you should never be eating that cost. And we have that covered in that change order policy. Zach, I want to jump to you just because I've seen your hand up for a little bit. Do you have a comment or question? I just don't want you to be ignored here.
So for Clayton, have you thought about going back to the original question on how he's able to do that? And so we just built, I'm working with a cost plus builder right now, right? So I own a real estate brokerage as well as a fence company. And we're kind of dipping our toes into the development, area. So we're working with a cost plus builder where they basically go, hey, it's going to cost X amount. We're going to add $20,000 into it. They handle everything. It's basically project management. But what we found is, we just started our first one. What we found is that it's going to be a lot more than we originally thought. So maybe, Clayton, if you want to go, I would go talk to maybe one of those builders in your area. I don't know how it is there. Here in Florida, it's touchy. We like for fence guys, I can meet with a fence guy and just like, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee. Can we talk? See how you're doing this? Because what they could be doing is, like, our issue is we bought this land and they're like, all right, so when you buy this land, it's going to cost X amount of money to build. Then we found that there were gopher tortoises. So now it's going to cost us $20,000 to get rid of those gopher tortoises. And then it's going to be this. So that could be how they're going over. But their bid versus yours may be extremely lower. Like, we were getting $650,000 to build this house. They came in at like 300. And so that's when we were like, how did y'all do that? And it's a cost plus. They're like, hey, it's going to bare bones cost us this much, and then we're charging you $20,000 to $30,000 on top of that. So that could be what they're doing, and that might be something I don't know, you might want to look into, but that could be what they're doing, and that's how they're going over they're 100,000. I don't know if it's apples to apples with yours. Like you're telling us it's going to cost 350. They're doing 350, but then they're coming in at 400, 450. Then that's a totally different situation. But sit down and talk with one of the guys in the area and just go, hey, how are you able to do this? Like what is going on? Because that could be how they're selling their jobs. Is they're not underbidding. They're just telling you, hey, like Robert said, it's a cost plus, and it covers their ass because they go, hey, we told you this is what we're doing. This is what it's going to cost. If other crap comes up, like when there were gopher tortoises, I'm like, who cares? Like, well, they're a protected species. So now it's going to cost $20,000 to get rid of them. And I'm like, that doesn't, hey, we didn't say we're going to get rid of gopher tortoises. Y'all should have done your due diligence before you bought the land. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of, it covers their ass. And like you talk about the change orders and all that. So I would just say, maybe reach out to them, buy them a cup of coffee or whatever y'all doing. I think you said Oklahoma. And just talk to them and see if that's what they're doing. And maybe talk to Nicole about, hey, what if or Robert, he's very big on, like you said, cost plus. That maybe that's a business model you can look into as well. That's all I had to say was just, I'm going through the same thing with a cost plus builder. We're the customer on that. So.
That's good advice, Zach. I also definitely had to look up what a gopher tortoise was. I did not know what that was. So I appreciate that as well. That's my fun fact for the day. Jordan, I see your hands up here. I want to give you the opportunity, sir.
Hey there. Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
Hey, Jordan.
Good. Excuse me. So my question's kind of on the other side of what we've been talking about this morning. As a subcontractor, we're an electrical shop. I'm an electrical contractor here in Tennessee. I've got a contractor who's also become a good friend as well. And I think because of the work that you guys are doing here at Redmond, you know, my mindset's been shifting, and I went and looked at a project with him this last week. It's a tenant finish inside a little strip mall for an athlete training center. And so it used to be I think a dance studio. And so they're taking out, you know, a wall and making a few floor plan changes, nothing crazy or anything. There's definitely going to probably be like some probably discovery and demo. And I asked him, you know, when we're walking through, I'm like, well, do we have any electrical prints? Is there any scope of work? We don't have any of that. He's got a simple drawing and diagram. And so I just asked him, like, are you wanting help with design then? Or, you know, what's the expectation? He didn't really answer me. And so I was like, well, you know, send me what you do have then, which I haven't got yet. And then I get a text this morning. He's like, hey, are you able to get that quote over to me today? And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm quoting, you know? And so, you know, I'm trying to figure out kind of how to manage that, because it is a friend, but at the same time, you know, I really got to know what I'm quoting, and I'm for sure going to probably have to put some clauses in there for demo discovery, because I'm sure we're going to uncover some things that none of us really just know about. So just trying to figure out how to manage that. And then the other side of that question is that, you know, pretty typical among I feel like it's pretty typical among contractors not to have that, and to kind of use subs to basically design things that nobody's getting paid for, you know. And I think the contractors do that too. They're doing a lot of design and different things that they're not getting paid for as well. So anyway, I don't know if you hear a question in that, but just something I've been thinking through this morning.
Real quick, with some of these hands raised, are these questions, or are these, hey, I've got the Spirit of God on me and I've got some insight for Jordan?
I think I have a little bit of insight.
Okay, Michael, let's hear it.
So I'm listening to all this and wondering what people's pre-construction process looks like, because we would never get away with those kind of overages on a project. We always charge the customer for design work. We have a pre-construction agreement that we give them an estimate on the design work, but it's billed on an hourly basis. And a lot of that depends on how much the customer changes stuff during that design process and how much of the product selection they want us to be involved in, and all of those kinds of questions. By the time we get to a project, it is defined like 99%, and we know what things are going to cost before we ever talk to a sub. And that's all because of the pre-construction process and the pre-construction agreement that we do. We just won't do it any other way because it leaves too many things up in the air.
Yeah.
To create problems down the road.
What I like about that answer is, as it relates to you, Jordan, is it almost doesn't matter if it's like a friend.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter the relationship. It's that you have processes that you follow that protect yourself, that if people are asking for your expertise in design work, and you and I have talked about this, right? If people are asking for you to use your specialized knowledge that you've worked hard for, that you've educated yourself for over years and years, that you've gotten licensed for, that you've gotten a master license for, right? A contractor's license for. Yeah. They're asking for that special knowledge. They are asking for value, right? They are asking for this thing that you sell. That's what your service is. And so it's like, my perspective is this, is when I work with friends, like I just pay them what their fees are, right? Like my CPA is a really good friend of mine. I'm even recently working with one of my aunts, right? She has this Filipino recruiting company that I'm checking out. And I'm just paying her the fee that she's going to get paid because I understand and then when people that know me work with me, you know, I'm charging them what we charge you guys, right? Because we have certain costs and we want to protect ourselves. So that's what I really like about what Michael said is it almost doesn't matter the relationship, to do the due diligence and to follow the process every time.
So yeah, how do you think you would manage that? Because I think the expectation from my side is changing. You know, I've always kind of included that and just done it, whether I get the job or not. Sorry about that. And now, you know, my mindset's changing quite a bit because I'm realizing, gosh, how much work I'm doing in the business and not getting paid for. And Michael mentioned something that I'd never even occurred to me before, but a pre-construction agreement, you know. You know, so I'm learning.
You see Brandon's comment? We offer family and friends a discount. We offer family and friends a discount, triple the price, then half off.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
Jordan, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I think you're just maybe looking for confidence of like, hey, it's okay with these people who I've worked with for a long time to like come to them and kind of change expectations to say, hey, and I think everybody here is giving you that confidence of, yes, it is okay. You know, you are a business owner. That's one of the benefits of being a business owner is you get to set your terms and conditions. You get to set those expectations. And if we lose some people along the way because they don't want to do draw schedules, you know, or they don't want to sign a working agreement or whatever, you now know that those things are serving you a lot better than the way that you've done them in the past. And so, yes, we're all giving you confidence permission to go to those people and say, here are my new expectations.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just, I think what I hear you're asking for is like, hey, how do I have a conversation that might be a little bit uncomfortable? And you just got to have it, man. You just got to, it doesn't have to be a really stressful, a really, you know, intense conversation. You just go to your friend and say, hey, I know I typically do this work for you for you know, free. I've just included it in the past. I've realized that that's really costing me. And so I would still love to do this project for you. We are charging for our design services at this point. It's worthwhile, as but we're kind of changing the way we do things because as a business owner, I can't keep doing things this other way anymore. It's hurting my business. And I would just be honest with them. I'd just have a transparent conversation with them. I mean, again, if he's your friend, a true friend, a friend should respond pretty well and understanding to that. So anyway, we got some other hands raised. I think, is Michael still hand raised? His hand has been raised for a
Yeah,
while.
still here. When I used to do a lot of home repairs and small contract work, and I know a lot of contractors in New England, they immediately switch over to time and materials for the unknown variables outside the contract. If there's something that's unknown, they make sure that it's a time and material cost instead of a set fee.
Yep. Yeah, that's the way to go with that for sure.
Fernando, did you got something? Okay, Brandon, we're gonna move to you, buddy.
It's just back to the friends and family thing. The thing that a lot of them don't understand is the cost of failure. And in going from the purpose of the design is to go from an idea to a plan. And after you've made the plan what your cost of failure is. And if you have an unpredictable cost of failure, everybody wants you to come and help out because they see the benefits, but you've known with some experience what it's going to cost if you fail. And exposing them to those costs helps justify the design cost in making a plan. And I walk through that with my clients. We just walked through a job where the lady wants all new trim in her house. It's a 4,000 square foot house. It's going to be a $70,000 trim package. And she has 18 ideas and no plan. And so she's asking me to measure it and bid it the same day. And I'm like, you need to go talk to my designer. And it's simply because of that. You have a lot of ideas that don't go together, don't complement. And in the end, I'm bidding at a set of ideas that I don't have a solid plan for. And so I don't have any way to satisfy you. And you're not going to be a happy client. And I'm not going to be a happy contractor. And it's because I know through having failed in that process what the cost of failure is. And if they're not willing to spend $1,500 to have a solid plan for that, then there's no other way to do it other than either cost plus or time and material. So
yeah, that's really good.
Great. Cody, I've seen your hand going up and down and up and down. I don't want to leave you out here. And I know that you do a lot of work similar to what Jordan was talking about. And so if you have a question or comment, we'd love to hear from you.
I've got a couple of contractors that we work for. I believe they trust our work. They get a quote from us solely, but there are times when they have unforeseeables. Like, I'll go walk a construction job and they'll have the mechanical rooms locked, or, we can't get in there that day, or fire hazard room's locked or something. I've got to get ducked in there. We do air conditioning here in Texas, and they're happy with me providing them a not to exceed quote. I'll put enough money in there for the very worst case scenario. And I think the reason they're happy is because I think they take that number, plug it in their budget. And if everything worked out, I obviously don't bill them, all that money. But I think that's a way for them to make a little money too on it. It's seemed to work for us so far anyway. And we also, with that not to exceed quote, we're able to fudge a little thing. If I did miss something on a quote, we're able to include it.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful, Cody. It goes into an idea of under promise but over deliver. If you bid kind of in that worst case scenario, and you also must communicate, because it's a selling point in this case, if you do it, also must communicate, hey, I'm putting this here. Usually we're able to come in underneath that, and that's a good method to take as well. One thing I do want to mention is in this conversation too, because Jordan, or I guess I'll say two things, and these are just thoughts of how you could manage the relationship as well. So take them or leave them, but a lot of contractors that I work with don't consider their time for bidding and estimating. Whenever they make a price for somebody, that's not a part of the costs. Whenever they do cost plus, you have to give yourself an hourly rate. You are not a free employee in your business. You're actually the most expensive employee in your business. So you have to value yourself in that way and your time. So in every bid, incorporate that cost if you're not explicitly charging for the design or estimate fee. That's one tidbit I want to throw out here. And then the other one is potentially, and I don't know if other people have done this in the past, you can maybe speak to experience on this, but if you're doing a lot of bids for the same person every time, and those are free bids usually, and you win some, you lose some, whatever, it's worth asking for some kind of a retainer fee. If you're not going to call for each estimate being a certain amount, it's, hey, we typically do about 10 or 15 bids for you each month. We think it's worth about this much to have a retainer fee, and we're happy to do, any bids you need for a month, if you pay us this amount. It's an idea. It's an out of the box opportunity. That's not the first thing we're suggesting. That's not best practice we're suggesting, but it's an idea to add into the mix there.
I love Dale Eads just commented, and he's a plumber, he's a guy, but he said that the reason that we charge for a small fee for estimates, but do give it back if they use us to do the work. I think that's a great thing for service companies where you're like, hey, we do charge a $89 trip fee. What that covers is getting a licensed and insured technician to your house to give you an accurate and detailed estimate. If you decide to move forward with us, that fee gets waived. And then if somebody decides not to move forward with you guys, that covers that guy's time, their gas, you're not completely out for that time spent. I know that's really changed the game for him. He just commented saying it sure helps with the tire kickers. I know that's everybody's least favorite thing to deal with is tire kickers.
Yeah, it's not worth going to a tire kicker, because they don't book with you anyway. Then you just waste your money getting out with them. So yeah, I think the theme of this is that just from like a conceptual point of view, is if someone is asking for your specialized knowledge that you've really invested years of your life developing, and they need that specialized knowledge in order to get what they want, right? You're not asking them to do this. They are asking you to do something for them. That you have absolutely got to charge for that specialized knowledge, right? And we've talked about, people have shared a number of ways to do it, right? I think the more important principle is that we're not leaving money on the table, investing your valuable time and energy into delivering value to someone, specialized value for someone for free, right? And again, if the fear then becomes, well, what happens if I lose this opportunity? Let that fear drive new opportunities in your business. What our goal is at Redmond Growth is to get each of our clients to a spot where we not just increase the quantity of leads, but the quality, so that they can pay or they can charge the prices they need to charge to make a very fair and reasonable profit. It's typically 20% is what we shoot for, fair and reasonable profit. And if someone doesn't want to agree to those terms, we're not wasting time with them. Again, there's different situations and periods that people could be in business wise. If you're just starting out, if you're early on, if you're kind of desperate for work, there's different seasons that call maybe for different adjustments. But that is the goal, is if someone walks away from a job because they're not wanting to be fair in return to you, then it's you just avoided someone who's decreasing your profits in your business. You just avoided someone. I sometimes tell people that it would be better to pay your guys to sit at a beach for a week to do than to do the job that you're doing, because at least if you're paying your guys to sit at a beach for a week, you're not losing money on material, right? You're just losing it on the labor side. And it's kind of a funny illustration to say there are some jobs that are just not worth taking. don't be afraid. Be confident in your knowledge. Be confident in your value. Be able to articulate that, right? And we can help you articulate that. Be able to articulate that. Hey, what really is the unique value that I bring? And how do I articulate that? And if you're looking for how to articulate that real quickly, just look at some of your recent reviews. Your customers will tell you about your unique value that you bring. But we can also help you with that. Make sure you articulate your value and be confident in charging for the services that people are asking for that require specialized knowledge that not everyone can do. So anyway, we have a few minutes left. Any questions? Any more questions? Business issues. We really want to use this group call as another lifeline.
Yeah, I got a question.
Kevin?
Are you
Fernando?
there?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So we're in the process right now of from the last meeting, we kind of agreed that we're gonna get a office person. I just wanted to pick your guys' brains. I know Nicole, she was kind of crazy about the office. So I just wanted to pick your guys' brains and some of the other contractors. What are some responsibilities that you guys have given them to do? Because our coach gave us some. Shout out to Travis, he's the best one. But then he just said, hey, he gave us a couple ideas, and then he says, take some time to think about it. So I just wanted to kind of pick your guys' brain and see, other contractors or, some responsibilities that you guys would recommend to have them do that made your guys' life easier.
Hey, Fernando, what business are you in?
We do plumbing and HVAC. Plumbing and HVAC?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to see if Complete Electric was still on the call because I know that they just hired an office person. Dale's just commenting, he goes, everything in running the office with the exception of finances. It's something that he still does himself.
Yeah, and we recommend. I agree with Dale. There's a lot of people that want to do that themselves, and I don't fight them on that. But I would never outsource or give the responsibility of bookkeeping to anyone on your team. I'd always outsource that or do it yourself. But I wouldn't recommend actually doing it yourself. But
how about putting in how about when it comes down to putting the numbers, like how we have the CRM that you guys provide, and then there's that little spreadsheet that we fill into. Would that be something that you guys would having the office person do?
Anything like that? Absolutely. Anything like that. But Zach, go ahead, man. I'm sorry. We were kind of talking at the same time, man.
So we did, I remember the question, and that was the best hire we hired was Tanya, our office admin. She takes care of them. She answers the phones. She does all our data entry as far as like when leads come in. She's the first point of contact. So if we have a lead come in from our website, Google, wherever, she puts it in our CRM. She's the first one to contact them to try and schedule appointments, try and get it. We have a virtual fence designer, so we put that out there as well. She handles some of our permitting, our locates, any of the what we call like the busy work, and then she does the data entry too. When somebody pays, she'll put in there. She'll send out the invoice when they pay. She'll log the payment, and then she doesn't do our financials. We have an accountant that does that. But anything that is, and I hate to say busy work because it kind of takes away from how important the role is, but anything that you can't do because it's not making you money, that's what we give to our office admin. And then you got to slowly hand the stuff over to you. So, or him, her or him, whoever it is. So
or both. In today's world, maybe it's
maybe, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to get controversial. What I like about what Zach said, and he didn't say this, but I heard him say this, is he said the owner's goal is to stay in their highest and best use, which is typically revenue driving activities. And a revenue driving activity could be hiring the right person, right? A revenue driving activity could be, you know, closing a big deal, right? A revenue driving activity could be making really intelligent marketing decisions based upon data. But these are the kind of activities that you can't ask another team member to do, and you can try, but they're never going to care as much as you do, right? Because they don't have as much stake in the game.
Oh yeah.
So Fernando, it sounds like you've got some kind of insight and perspectives here. Here's something that I would do though, is a lot of times like this process is more of one of discovery in your business than it is one of like, I know everything they need to do from the very beginning. We want to intelligently analyze that, right? What are the things that are preventing me from my highest and best use activities? What are the repeatable kind of more computer work, you know, office work, administrative work that I'm having to do or my team's having to do over and over and over again that would free people up? So intelligently analyze that, right? Actually think about it. But then just as you go on and as you see this person develop, especially the right person, you will very quickly begin to see, oh, I can add this thing to their plate, or I can add this thing to their plate. Whatever will continue to keep you in a position of your highest and best use is the goal. I really like what Zach shared with that. So, Jeremiah, good to have you here, man.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremiah. I do renovations, remodels in Austin, Texas area, and it's my first week with RGC, and so just trying to soak it in this morning.
Love that.
Speaking of, Robert, you know, the highest existential value that you bring to the business. My kind of big, well, this is expression I use a lot is shoot the closest to the boat, and worry about the other ones later. The biggest alligator for me right now is the fact that I've got clients that just don't feel like paying their bills, and it's, I don't know if anyone out there has any strategies or insight on how to handle that, but just to be totally transparent and blunt, like right now I've got about $65,000 in accounts receivable that are well overdue, but I can't, because I've only been in business for coming up on 2 years, but only have 1 full year of tax returns. I can't get a line of credit or any kind of loans. So that's kind of where I'm really pinched in a sense of immediacy, just trying to scrape it by every 2 weeks to hit payroll with accounts receivable where they are. Just curious what other people have done. We have insight for someone in my particular condition. No banks are going to give me a line of credit or a loan just because I don't have the history.
So we've got some insight. I'm curious what other people have done in these situations, though.
Yeah, I can offer a little bit here.
Thank you.
I've been in business. I have 2 businesses. One's been in business since 1996. I learned that you just have to draw a hard line. We put a number on it. You go 30 days past due. We've talked to you a couple times. It's going to our attorney. That's the end of the discussion. And they'll take it from there. I mean, people agreed to pay you the money. They're not giving it to you. Play hardball with them.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, but from my perspective, having not used an attorney in that capacity, it sounds to me like I'm just throwing more money at some other very expensive service that is an attorney.
No, they work on a percentage of what they collect. The collection attorneys do. So, you know, if you're going to give them 20% of what you collected, you've collected 80%. And you have to figure what your time and your office staff's time is worth and constantly trying to work to collect from these people. So it actually, with the ones that really don't want to pay, it ends up being cheap.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Do you have a collections attorney that you may recommend, Michael?
Yeah, we're in Northwest Indiana. There's a guy named Chad Nally that we use. He's in Merrillville, Indiana. He's pretty good.
Okay. I think did I see someone else have their hand raised that wanted to? I think Jordan. Did Jordan have to go? Is he still here?
Yeah, I
If anyone
think.
has, if anyone has to bounce, by the way, feel free to bounce. Some of our coaches may have to leave. I'll be here though for a little bit longer, just to make sure that we can get Jeremiah some help here.
Yeah, so I kind of have to separate the people who just legit aren't going to pay from the ones that are just dragging their feet. And Travis and I have talked about this a little bit recently, actually. And even just this last week, I was able to dwindle pretty much almost all of those feet draggers down just by being more aggressive. Instead of asking, hey, when can you pay? I message them and say, hey, we sent the bill on this date. It's been this long. Are you able to pay today? And I had one, even a little $500 bill, and they've ranged from $200 or $300 all the way up to a few $1,000s. And the majority of people are going to pay. You're going to get some that just decide they don't have to, and I've had two in the last year and a half. One did go to court. We won and we got paid. I've got one smaller one, about $3,900, that is currently going to court now. But the rest of them are just kind of dragging their feet. And I've had really good luck with just being more assertive and just saying, hey, can we take care of this today? Or even just saying, hey, I need to get payment today, please. And most of them have gotten paid up. One of them waited a couple weeks because my office manager was calling him and saying, hey, he wasn't picking up the phone. And so I finally texted him because she let me know. She's like, hey, I've been trying to reach out to him. He's not really responding. I said, okay, I'll reach out to him. So I texted him and just let him know I knew that she had tried getting hold of him, but not successful. And he was like, we made contact. And I said, well, I just spoke with her. She said she couldn't get you. And he goes, well, we texted. And I was like, well, she said, that's not what she told me. I just let him know. That's not what she told me. She said,
I love that.
Yeah. I said, I just got off the phone with her talking about this. And he goes, I'll get it paid. So 2 weeks go by. And I sent him another text and I said, hey, it's been 2 weeks since we spoke. Are you able to pay today? And he actually called me that day and paid with a card over the phone. So, for some reason, some people just drag their feet. And especially with the economy right now, I've noticed people get stickier with money. It's not that a lot of them don't have it, I don't think. I think it's just the uncertainty causes people to hold on to it a little bit more. So I've noticed I just have to get a little bit more aggressive in reaching out to those people, not being mean, but being assertive and firm.
That's a good balance, is not being a jerk, but being assertive. And I want to, Chris, get to you. Jeremiah, I also know a guy up in Jersey. His name is Tommy Tough Knuckles. And basically you can pay him to fly down to wherever you're at, where people owe you money, and let's just say he shows up with a baseball uniform and a baseball bat.
I like this one.
And yeah, that's resolved. Tommy Tough Knuckles, and he owes me a favor. Robert. Yeah, he owes me a favor. So no, I think some people are having some other great insight here. Lien notices. I think Jeremiah, especially for your business, like a lot of the work that you do, people are ready to sell their home. You can't sell a home with a lien notice, right? So that gives you a lot of leverage right there. So that's like a low-hanging fruit kind of thing.
Yeah, I will say in this particular case, it's people who are not selling. So that's where I'm like, man, the lien notice doesn't do a whole lot since I know they're not planning on selling.
It will do something. It moves the situation to a point of leverage, and you're serious.
Okay.
Another option is just how you word your agreements. So if you're worried about paying attorney fees, like you could put in your working agreements that if money isn't paid by a certain number of days past due, and you have to involve attorneys, that the homeowner or whoever you're doing work for will be responsible for attorney fees. So that might be a change going forward that you could put in your contracts. There's a part of your perspective, Jeremiah, that I see that's with the whole attorney thing. Hey, I don't want to spend money to kind of get money. And maybe if someone was owed you like less than $2,000 or something, like that perspective makes a little bit more sense. But $65,000 is worth pursuing. That's a good amount of money that is worth getting a collections attorney on board for, especially if you have a contract in place. I think you could get that resolved pretty quickly. Again, I would recommend Jordan's kind of methodology here is start getting serious with them, start asking, hey, we need to resolve this today. We got to get payment today. Continue to really follow up with them like on a daily basis, especially, text, email, phone. Right. And if that's still not working for you, I would then let them know, hey, we're filing a lien. Right. And then if that's still not working for you, I would let them know, hey, we're filing a lien. And then if we can't get payment collected from you, then we're going to get an attorney involved. But Chris, you go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
The thing that changed for us, we actually, to help alleviate this issue, was that we actually changed our deposit and draw structure to actually be much higher than I was actually ever comfortable with, like taking 50% up front. I always took like 10% down, 20% down, or something like that to get large projects going or whatever. We changed the draw structure to be 50% up front, and then the draws to be kind of covering whatever task. If we're about to get into electrical, about to get in plumbing, that's covered, actually paid before that actually starts based on our contract draw structure. So even if we did get into that situation, we're not actually out the money for whatever conflict came up. So it just changed completely. Like, we were less worried about the money because we've actually already recouped it. And then any time figuring out or involving attorneys or whatever, we've already been paid. And then we can work out the discrepancy. So that changed a lot. And I was really uncomfortable with it initially, like requesting so much money. I was like, I don't deserve this. No, we do deserve this. Like, we're here to do a service, and
Huge
it's okay.
change of perspective.
So
yeah, that's exactly what I do in my remodeling business is we break projects. Like we're doing like a $305,000 home addition right now. So we broke up the project in phases. And then we collect 50% for each phase. And so that makes it a little bit more, easier to manage someone making like a $50,000 payment than a $150,000 payment. And then we do exactly what Chris does is the draw schedule is every 2 weeks, and it's a much more minimal fee, and it's protected us as well in these situations. So.
And I saw, Laura, your comment in there about getting a larger down payment in California. Ryan Schatz, who was on here earlier, actually spoke specifically to that and what he does in his draw schedule. I think on the call on the 18th or the 11th, which we can get you the access to be able to rewatch that call and see exactly what he said for how he manages that in California. So make sure to ask your coach for that.
Two other things I would say regarding this project.
Bryce, do you want to just send that to her?
I'm having trouble sending in the chat right now. It's not sending from
well, just pull up her agenda and email it to her. And Ryan would love that video too.
Yeah. Okay.
I can give you Ryan's email in the chat. Here, if you get an email ready to go, I'll give you everyone's email in the chat. Go ahead, Michael.
One of the things we do is, first of all, we do all the communication regarding collections via email. That way, if you end up having to play hardball, there's no he said, she said. It's all in the emails. You can take it to court with you. It's all spelled out. The other thing we do is all of those communications come from someone in our office that never has to deal with this person on a project. From sales to close, the person that's collecting is somebody that never has to deal with the customer regarding the work that we're doing for them. So preserves the relationship of the people that have to deal with them on a future project, not having to go and play hardball to collect money. Somebody else that they never see, never deal with, does that for us.
We recently made that change in Redmond Growth. I don't know if any of you guys have gotten a call from Alyssa, but typically people have like canceled credit cards and updated them.
Yeah.
We used to have the coach manage it directly and put a bunch of work on their plate, and now we just have one member of our team manage that. So Bryce, I got those emails in there for Laura Pierce, Matt Pierce, and Ryan Perrin. And so anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up today. This was a really awesome discussion. Really great to have you here, Jeremiah. And
thanks for all the
some of
input. Appreciate it.
Yeah, new folks. Zach, great to have you here this morning too. How we do the same. The bad cop role really works. Again, Tommy Tough Knuckles. You know, just mention Tommy Tough Knuckles in your email, and you're going to get paid quick. I promise you. All right, guys. We like to end every call with kind of us all saying growth on 3. What we do for the new guys is we count down 3, 2, 1. We have everyone unmute your microphone now. Unmute your microphone now. 3, 2, 1, and then we end with growth, right? Then we all kind of exit here. So on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1.
Growth.
Oh man, let's go. Zach, I need you to do better than that next week.
I said grow.
I know, but I saw you, man. That was like, come on. We got to get a full effort here. Okay. All right, guys. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.